These constellations include Andromeda, Pegasus, Triangulum, and Aries. These aren't exactly circumpolar constellations, but they're not far from it, and they're above our northern horizon for more than half of the hours every day. In fact, Andromeda is above the horizon about 19 hours out of every 24 in a day. So some of those 19 hours are going to be during the dark night. Whether it's convenient to view or not, if it's from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, may not be so great, but they'll be above the horizon quite a bit. And so you can see these constellations some time of the night for most of the year. Pegasus is best known for the great square of Pegasus. Pegasus is supposed to be the winged horse, and if you imagine an upside down horse, you might be able to see the neck and the head of a horse in this, and some front legs. Take some artistic license there. The dashed line that connect to that star in the upper left hand corner is because that star technically belongs to the constellation of Andromeda, not Pegasus. However, it's barely into Andromeda, and in fact, if you look carefully at a star map, you see this odd little corner that cuts out that star and gives it to the constellation of Andromeda. At one time, the star was shared between the two constellations, but the International Astronomical Union decided to draw the boundaries in ways that doesn't have shared stars anymore. So that's why we have the dashed lines up there. But go ahead and include that star in the asterism for Pegasus, and also include it in the asterism for Andromeda. In Pegasus, you have a bunch of stars that have sort of horse themes in a way. Enif is the nose of the horse. Markab is the saddle of the horse. Sheet is the horse's shoulder. Be careful how you pronounce that one. Algenib is the flank. And somewhere up here, Alpheratz is the navel of the mare. So all sorts of equine themed star names here. Okay, so there's the great square of Pegasus, which is what most people recognize up in the sky when they look at it. And it does stand out pretty well in the night sky. And then starting off of Alpheratz here, Alpheratz is one of the stars you need to know this week of this group of constellations, is the asterism for the constellation of Andromeda. And Andromeda is supposedly a chained princess. This looks like a big cornucopia, or just a spreading out V of stars. Down below Andromeda is what I think is the most accurately named constellation in the sky, Triangulum. And the asterism is just those 3 stars, so that one's not too tough to identify. And then below Triangulum is Aries, the ram. That's one of the constellations of the zodiac, but a not very impressive one. It sort of looks like a hockey stick, but not a very well drawn hockey stick. It must have taken quite a bit of imagination to see a ram in this part of the sky. Okay, so there's Andromeda again, the asterism for it. Triangulum. And Aries there. So a somewhat different view. These are groups of stars that travel around the North Celestial Pole like everything else does, and they can take on different orientations, different times of the night. And then not too far away is Cassiopeia. So the same part of the sky. And we'll see a little bit of the constellation of Perseus down here, but not very much of it. So most of it's still below the horizon. But you can see what part of the sky you're in here, with Cassiopeia, Perseus, Andromeda, and Triangulum, all pretty close together. Aries too. Okay, Andromeda, the great square of Pegasus, Triangulum, and Aries again. And then, in this same part of the sky, this is Pisces, and that's the two fishes. The circle over there on the right side and the part of a circle on the other side are the fishes, the western and the eastern fishes, and then the lines are fishing lines that meet at supposedly a fisherman or somebody holding the fishing lines. And in this same part of the sky is the Andromeda Galaxy, a naked eye object if you're under dark enough skies and know where to look. And here's a good picture of the Andromeda Galaxy. It's a companion to the Milky Way galaxy, about 2.5 million light years distant, so quite a ways away. So when you go out at night, and if you can spot that with the naked eye, you're seeing light that's been traveling to you for 2.5 million years. So that's kind of cool. It's visible to the naked eye, as I mentioned, and it was one of the first spiral nebula to which the distance was approximately known. And at the time it was discovered, they knew of a bunch of things like this, and they just referred to them as spiral nebula because they looked like spirals and they were a little bit cloudy. And in the 1920s, Edwin Hubble measured the distance to this using Cepheid variable stars, something I might have mentioned in one that presentation you've seen already. Now, at the time, they didn't realize that there were actually two different types of Cepheid variable stars. And so, as a distance measurement technique, it wasn't very accurate until they actually did distinguish between those two types. But still, Hubble estimated a distance to the Andromeda Galaxy of about 1 million light years. Now we know that it's more like 2.5. But that was far enough away that it was obvious it was not a part of the Milky Way galaxy. And so that was the first other island universe that people knew about. And it contains approximately 1 trillion stars. This is just an estimate. Also, the at least twice as many as the Milky Way galaxy may not be quite so accurate anymore. The recent estimates of sizes for both of these galaxies have been revised closer together, so that may not quite be the case anymore. And it's moving toward the Milky Way galaxy, and the two are going to collide in about 3.75 billion years. So don't hold your breath waiting for that. When they do collide, there will be a trigger of a lot of new star formation as the clouds of gas and dust run into each other. But not many stars are going to run into each other. If you remember way back early in the quarter, I talked about a tennis ball sized object in the back of our classroom, and the next nearest star was another tennis ball sized thing down in El Paso, Texas. And you could have a lot of tennis balls pass between here and El Paso, Texas without ever interacting with a tennis ball in our classroom or a tennis ball in Texas. The Andromeda Galaxy has a couple of companion galaxies, M32, Messier 132 here, and then M110 over here. And you can see those through small telescopes. They're not as easy to see as the Andromeda Galaxy is, of course, but they're visible anyway. Okay, other things in this part of the sky. Andromeda up here. Great square of Pegasus. Andromeda. Whoops, Cassiopeia was the W up there. Sorry. Cassiopeia. Up there, the great square of Pegasus, and Andromeda connected to Pegasus. Triangulum down there. And then up here in this part of the sky is a star called Kappa Andromedae, and it's about 170 light years away from us. And here is a picture taken of this part of the sky with the Subaru telescope. Now, in this picture, the star itself is blanked out with a mask that they put over the image so that the light from Kappa Andromedae didn't overwhelm everything else in the picture. And what they saw in here, okay, that black circle in the middle with the plus sign on it, that's where Kappa Andromedae happens to be. That's the object of interest. And it's something that orbits Kappa Andromedae, a 52 astronomical unit orbital radius. So it's farther out from Kappa Andromedae than Pluto is from our sun. This object has 13 times the mass of Jupiter, and that categorizes it. It's either a large planet, Jupiter's already a large planet, and something 13 times as massive is going to be 13 times as big as Jupiter, or it's a small brown dwarf. And a brown dwarf is considered a failed star, something not quite massive enough to trigger sustained fusion in its core. It's among the very first extrasolar planets or exoplanets that have been directly imaged. And that's what they had to do to see it, was to mask out the light from the star when they formed the image. And so that's a trick that they have to do. All right, that was it for this batch of constellations. A little bit more information than some of the ones that we've watched.